Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and Commander. This is the situation report, the SITREP for the day of 825 for the 28th of May. We're going to start off with the frontline changes report. There is a various frontline changes and so over at Vovchansk, Ivaniske, Umanske, and STAROMAIORSKE. So we're going to start off with the Vovchansk region. So over the Vovchansk region, there is some good news for the Ukrainian side. So the Ukrainian forces has been geolocated in two different locations in the where the major combat is happening. With the Ukrainian forces have captured some grounds over on this central northern part of Vovchansk. However, don't be too happy as well because these geolocations are TOS-1A strikes. These are all thermobaric strikes, which means that the Ukrainian forces in the soldiers at least in these two different locations are wiped out. They are all dead. So, but the main thing for our mapping purposes is that we note that the Ukrainian forces actually have moved forward, and this actually means that the Ukrainians have taken more grounds over this area here, putting pressure on the Russian forces that is currently trying to hold this ground around here. The next frontline change is over at Avdiivka. So over at the Kupyansk front. So this is also another one that is similar in nature. Ukrainian forces basically taken grounds around in the northern part of Avdiivka, but the circumstances is similar for this geolocation. Again, this is actually a drone. Ukrainian forces getting hit by a drone on their, I think, infantry fighting vehicle. So, but it does invalidate the Russian claim that Avdiivka has been captured, according to the Russian Defense Ministry and Ryba. So it could be a case where the Ukrainians counterattack and manage to capture some ground in the northern part of Avdiivka. So that's all for the Avdiivka in the Kupyansk front. The next frontline change is over at very similarly named Ivaniske, over at the Bakhmut front. So in case you do not know, where are we? Just now we were here, so now we are going here. So over at the Bakhmut front, this is Bakhmut city. At Ivaniske region, there is a geolocation of Russian forces in the south of Ivaniske, and the Russian forces have made some advance in this area here, taking some grounds in this area. So this is this geolocated by Crimean Caprice, so invalidating some of these Ukrainian positions that is previously mapped based on the Ukrainian counter-offensive operations. So now the Russians are back in the south of Ivaniske. The next frontline change is over at the Avdiivka front at Umanske. So a very small little change. This is mapped by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, showing that the Russian forces have taken another tree junction. Tree, like no plants, tree junction, not tree. No, so the Russian forces have advanced further and are putting pressure on the Ukrainians that is trying to defend this salient over here, just off Semenivka. So the Russians are now pushing in. So the last frontline change is over at STAROMAIORSKE, over at the Donetsk Front. In this area here, the Ukrainian lines collapsed, with the Russian forces making massive advances. This is mapped by Deep State UA mostly, and also there's also one geolocation that confirms these advances. So the Russian forces have now taken basically 70% to 80% of STAROMAIORSKE. So there's a massive change in this battle of STAROMAIORSKE and Uruzhaine. So this is the frontline changes report for the past 24 hours. So now we're going to move into the strategic and tactical reporting. And first thing first, we're going to take a look at this geolocation. There's a Lancet strike near Nova Sloboda. So the Lancet hitting a Ukrainian artillery just off in the Sumy region. So nothing very significant about this. We move into the Kharkiv Front. So at the Kharkiv Front, the Russian forces are still operating in this area here, with fighting reported north of Lipsy at STAROMAIORSKE as well as Vovchansk, with the Ukrainian forces seemingly having some massive counter-offensive over at the Vovchansk region. So that's the situation. Over at the Lipsy sector, we have a geolocation on the opposite side of the river at Mali Prokhody, where the Lancer hitting a Ukrainian artillery. Whereas on the fighting at near Lipsy, the pro-Russian source reported about the fighting in the north of Lipsy. There is no changes in terms of the situation as per the last situation report. And at STAROMAIORSKE, Commander, the Ukrainian forces reported that they have defended against Russian attacks in this area here. We have no more intel regarding where the front line actually is. We can only base it on what we have currently, and there is this massive gray zone towards Siversk-Bakhmut there, which have no more reports coming from it, which is very unusual. We'll just continue to wait and see whether there's more intel coming out from it. And over at the Battle of Vovchansk, let me change the mapping. At the Battle of Vovchansk, the Ukrainian forces have basically attacked. As I mentioned before, this area here, this is where the main battle is. And the Ukrainian forces basically have advanced further over towards the center. Russian forces, in my opinion, is just defending. They are not really attacking anymore, despite that our mapping put it as the attacking. But because this is based on how the report is written, they simply say that there is fighting over there, and because this is a Russian offensive, I'm going to put it as a Russian offensive. But generally, the Ukrainians are actually making the advance. Actually, in fact, yeah, I can't really write it there. Anyway, over at this remaining bridge in the center part of Vovchansk, the Russians blew it as well. So the Russian has blown this bridge as well. Basically, you can see that this is already gone. Now this is gone. So this is the only one remaining right now, where the Ukrainians are now feeding troops into the northern side of this river. And if you follow this river on, there is the next bridge is around here at Taike. This is already blown up by the Russian forces, and you follow the river further. This bridge also, the next bridge is also destroyed. There's one more here that is not destroyed yet, and if you move further, yet another bridge around here has been destroyed. The Russians have basically blown all the bridges, almost all the bridges, in this region, in this entire sector of the Vovchansk sector, and this is clear indication that the Russians have no plans to go south of the Vovchansk river. Wrong color. They have no intention to go south. This is the plan. It's just a diversion. It's just to attract Ukrainian attentions, and I think it's a bit sinister that they actually left this river open, this bridge open, because now the Ukrainians is going to just feed through this location to continue to counterattack. And basically, they are now going into a kill zone. And as you can see, this thermal barrack strikes basically kills anyone that is holding the front line over there. And the Russians are just going to continue this action against Ukrainian forces. And the Ukrainians, being the Ukrainians, will just continue to feed troops into this salient and then just get wiped out. This is what I think is currently happening, and it's extremely sad if this is the case. But of course, I can be wrong, But from so far, the observation of the war so far, this feels a lot like what the Russians are doing. So, yeah, so that's all for the Kharkiv Front. We move into the Kupyansk Front over the entire Oskil Front. So Oskil, because this river here, this is the Oskil River. So this entire area, the three fronts combined, it's actually like the Oskil Front to me. So over at the Kupyansk Front, the Russian forces are attacking in various locations. They are attacking at Sinkivka, Petropolivka, as well as Stepova Novoselivka. There's a Ukrainian change, as mentioned in the frontline changes report over in the region of Ivaniivka. So there is not much to talk about other than this change with the Ukrainian forces over at the Ivaniivka region counterattacked, taking the some part of the northern part. But we already knew that this northern part has always been uncertain, because the Ukrainian side have not acknowledged the capture of Ivaniivka. As you can see that the Ukrainian mapping still shows that half of Ivaniivka is still under Ukrainian control. So this claim is only by the Russian side. We still have no confirmation from the other side, from the Ukrainian side. So no, this makes perfect sense. So there is a geolocation of a thermobaric strike on the Russian Ukrainian forces south of Stepova Novoselivka. This is horrendous, which means that the Russians are making intentional push westward towards Stepova Novoselivka, and these bombardments are just going to clear out the defenses, and then the Russians can slowly grind forward. So we move on from the Kupyansk. Over at the Svatove front, the things around here seems to slow down a little bit. Fighting is reported at Novoyehorivka and also towards Druzhya-Lyubivka. So these are the two locations at the Svatove front that the Russians are actually attacking. It's a lot lesser than previously, but we shall continue to monitor. There's not much to talk about here. So we move further south to the Kreminna front. At the Kreminna front, Russian forces are attacking at Nevsky, Terny, Torske, as well as through the Serебranske forestry. There is a geolocation at Nevsky of a Ukrainian artillery getting hit by the Russian forces. So this Kreminna front seems to start again, a little bit stronger. So the Svatove front at the Svatove region start to slow down. The Russians start to ramp up on the Kreminna. It just feels like it, that the Russians are just trying to make the Ukrainians, run here and there. Over at the Siversk front, there is still fighting reported at Bilohorivka. The Russian claims of Bilohorivka getting captured is totally ignored by everyone. Nobody believed it. So we will just continue to monitor. Nothing else over the rest of the front line. Commander, we are now in the Bakhmut front. And at the Bakhmut front, Russian forces are attacking across the Bakhmut front. Seems to have a increasing pressure on the Ukrainian side. Fighting at Kharkiv. This is Bodanivka, Kreminna region, Novi, Klishevka, and Andriivka. And there's also a frontline change over at Ivanivske, showing that the Russians are pushing at Ivanivske as well. So the entire front line start to burn again. So of course the Bakhmut front has always been fighting, just that it seems like there's a little bit more the past 24 hours. We shall wait and see how this progress. There is an interesting phenomena over at the Novi region. The Russian forces again have been geolocated on the eastern part of this forest, as the Russians trying to send troops and land troops in the forest. And then in this region here, they got struck. So it makes me unsure if the Ukrainians actually have part of the forest or not. And I'm not sure how they managed to hit all these vehicles from some weird angles. So whatever it is, the Russians are still trying to penetrate through this forest to attack Novi, and the Ukrainians are doing a very, very good job holding back the Russians from capturing the Novi. So we shall continue to monitor this area here. The geolocation of Russian forces attacking in the south of Ivanivske is pretty predictable, as they need to close up to make it a more defensive position, more defendable position. The terrain in this area here, as you can see, this is a somewhat of a higher ground, I guess. You can see a 200-meter mark, and so this area here, this is actually the high ground, and then this is actually the low ground, and the Russians are pushing on the high ground, trying to take all the high ground, I guess, because this could be another way to try to alleviate the situation at Klishevka, as this is where the high ground is. So we shall wait how it develops, because all these tree lines are just very, very difficult to capture, as the Ukrainians concentrated a lot of defenders around in the Bakhmut front. They are determined to not let the Russians have a breakthrough in the Bakhmut front, which is why the Bakhmut front has been ongoing for more than a year now. So we shall continue. I think the Battle of Bakhmut has been concluded around a year ago. The capture was around a year ago, so it was some time. So this battle around this Bakhmut front has been ongoing for a long time. And again, we still have no confirmation of any Russian capture of Klishevka or Andriivka. There's still no confirmation of this. So you will just have to continue to wait over here. We move into the New York front, and there's nothing over the New York front except that there was a geolocation of a Russian airstrike on Alexandropil. So that's all we have for the Niu-York front. And over the Avdiivka front, we have some actions. So Russian forces attacking Novo-Alexandrivka, they're attacking Oskil, and in the west of Semenivka, as well as Netelove. The one at Netelove, the Russian sources say that they are just clearing up the town. So they are doing clearing operations. And that's about it around this front line. Avdiivka getting a bit quiet, at least for the past 24 hours. So we shall see. As I mentioned, the Bakhmut have flare up a little bit more. Avdiivka now looks like it's reducing its tension. So interesting. Move into the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, we have the Battle of Krasnohorivka ongoing. The fighting towards Konstantinivka and towards Vodian is still ongoing as well. And the main battle at STAROMAIORSKE and Uruzhaine is ongoing. So there's no news regarding Krasnohorivka. There's nothing special regarding the Konstantinivka, Vodian region. So we're going to focus on this Velikan-Novosibirsk sector. And as mentioned in the Frontline Changes report, the Russian forces has broke through the Ukrainian lines. The Ukrainian lines over at STAROMAIORSKE seems to have collapsed. With this a massive change in terms of the front line, according to the mapping by Deep State UA, Russian forces basically have taken almost 80%, almost 80% of STAROMAIORSKE. And the only good thing about the Ukrainian side situation is that Uruzhaine still held very well. The Russians have no success over the Uruzhaine region. However, with the fall of STAROMAIORSKE, would become a tactical vulnerability for Uruzhaine, because then once the Russians have a full capture of STAROMAIORSKE, they will be able to push north and start to put pressure from the northern part, and they can actually eventually ignore Uruzhaine. So the next crossing is still a bit further up. The next crossing is over at let me see, where's the crossing? Very far away. So the next crossing all the way at Velikan-Novosibirsk. So what the Russians could possibly do would be to put pontoon crossings and actually attack from the north. I think that is a possibility. So the Russians will have to continue to push up north, even if the Ukrainians have a strong control of Uruzhaine. Uruzhaine will not fall, even with the capture of STAROMAIORSKE. So the Russians would have to do some pontoon crossing in the north before they can actually pull down Uruzhaine, because the crossing is over here. This crossing wouldn't have make much difference, because this is already where the Russians are. So yeah, so that's the situation. But STAROMAIORSKE looks like is very close to falling to the Russians. So we shall continue to to wait for these developments to continue. Over at the Zaporizhzhia Front, there is only one battle being reported. It's towards Malatomashka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So the fighting heading towards Malatomashka is ongoing. Otherwise, there's nothing over at the Zaporizhzhia Front. And over at the Kherson Front. Kherson Front is a bit bizarre. So we have fighting reported at Krinky as usual. There is geolocation of a Lancet hitting a Ukrainian artillery north of Tyahinka. And there's also another I think this guided bomb strike, I think, on this Vovchansk. So this is the two geolocated strikes. So, and now fighting at Krinky. But then we have this very weird news from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They say that there is another battle continues in the area of Oleshki Sands. Oleshki Sands is this desert here. This is Oleshki Sands. And the Ukrainians say that there is fighting in this area. I'm kind of stumped, because the Ukrainians have not been able to get out of Krinky. That the news about them in Kozachi Lahire is not true. So how do we have fighting reported in the area of Oleshki Sands? I don't understand this yet. So currently this is a question mark. And if this is true, which means that the Ukrainians somehow managed to penetrate into the desert area. So something that we would have to keep a lookout for, because this doesn't make a lot of sense. So anyway, that's all from the Kherson Front. So this is it. This is the SITREP, or the situation report for the day of 835 for the 28th of May. So Commander, do press the like button, subscribe, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next update.